I wanted to weigh in on the recent news that there was a couple, David and Jamielynn Sharp, who were disciplined by their local ecclesiastical authorities for their views on Joseph Smith's polygamy. When the story broke, Stephen Pinegar had left a short of some sort, and immediately there started popping up videos basically saying that they were disciplined for their beliefs and not for their teachings, or not for spreading it to others. I was a little skeptical of that, but I put in a comment on one of the videos that if that were true, if they were disciplined for their beliefs, that is wrong. It's not the way the church operates. You typically can hold a personal belief, but if you start to teach it and advocate it against the church's teachings, that's when you are subject to discipline. But I waited to see what would come out. I watched the video from Stephen Pinegar's Mormon Book Reviews channel, and it's not that simple. It sounds like that David had posted some videos in the summer. His stake president asked him to take them down. I don't know the nature of those videos. I didn't watch them. I wasn't familiar with his channel. He took them down, and then he put them back up in October. He was asked to take them down, I guess, which I guess he did. And if I'm getting into this wrong, I'm open to correction. He took them down again, but I guess he continued to advocate his views to others, and that's not being disciplined for a personal belief. That is taking your message that is contrary to the church outside of the walls of your home and advocating it to others. That's basically being close to an apostate, if you will. That's not what the position of the church is. That Joseph Smith dictated Section 132 by revelation. It was canonized in 1852. It supplanted Section 101, which, by the way, was never a revelation dictated by Joseph Smith. It was prepared in his absence. He did approve it because at the time it had a very pragmatic purpose of obtaining civil marriage licenses. And of course, it still was the public, and all the way through the end of Nauvoo, it was the public policy. There was no public policy for plural marriage. Plural marriage was revealed over time to Joseph Smith. It was very controversial. Joseph Smith knew that. He delayed it for a very long time. Many people believe the Fanny Alger situation was a false start to plural marriage. He finally basically acquiesced to implementing it. He did it as best he could. He rolled it out privately. He did not want it to be leaked out in a disorderly fashion and have members go rogue and practice their own version of what he was trying to teach. And so, yes, I agree totally. It led to his denial. I agree totally that all of his public comments seem to deny his involvement with plural marriage, but that doesn't change the fact that he did practice and teach it privately. Going back to the Sharps, my heart goes out to them. I'm glad. It seems like they have a wonderful attitude about it. I share their testimony of the Book of Mormon. I share their testimony of the belief in Prophet Joseph Smith. Where we differ is when you basically say that God would never command plural marriage. If you're going to hold that position and there's nothing that's going to change your mind about that, and you're going to dictate to God what he can and can't do, then there's no discussing it. You're just going to hold that theological position. I'm not saying I like plural marriage. I'm not saying I'm advocating for it. I don't understand it, and maybe one day I will, but it is what it is, and it was for a purpose that only God knows. It was practiced by the most faithful, and I'm very grateful for them taking up the cross that they did and answering the call. I'm glad that it wasn't me. I'm glad it wasn't my wife. But they were humble enough. They had enough faith in the restoration and in Joseph Smith to know that if God commanded it, they were going to obey, and that's what they did. And I think as we go through, just flip through the hymn book and look how many hundreds, or at least 100 hymns that that were written by our those that practice polygamy, and how we still sing those today, and the kind of faith they brought. Look at, I know William Clayton is one of the ones that they like to hate on, but we have Come Come Ye Saints from William Clayton. We have many of our hymns, their beloved hymns, are from people that took up that cross. I don't think it's in our purview to have a witness of something that we're not asked to do. So I don't ever expect to have a witness. I'm not asking for a witness of whether it was true or not. I'm just basically, I have a witness of what I know is true, and I go forward. I can live with the tension of what plural marriage creates. If you automatically are going to jump to the conclusion that the only reason why anyone would want to practice plural marriage is to expand their sexual opportunities, then there's nothing left to discuss. That's the way you're going to take it. And if you're going to hold that fast and hard in your heart, well, I can't help you there. But if we look at the historical data, it's very clear that Joseph Smith taught and practiced plural marriage and rolled it out to his close inner circle. He certainly didn't foresee his own death and demise. And so I'm sure his thinking was as he would roll it out slowly, and once they were safely outside the confines of the U.S. Territory, that they'd be able to practice their faith according to the dictates of their own conscience. We can get into the weeds about the proof or the denials, and I'm happy to go over all those. But you have to look at all the evidence. You can't just basically ignore some evidence because it's coming from the wrong source, or because it's late, or you just can't go there. The evidence of Brigham Young having been the author of 132 is so scant. It boggles the imagination how many conspiracies have to be maintained, how many secrets have to be maintained in order to maintain that. I mean, what Joseph had to maintain in his circle of friends was nothing compared to what Brigham Young would have had to maintain to continue a conspiracy like that. And again, why not? Let's talk about the city council meeting right after the publication of the Nauvoo Expositor. Both Joseph Smith and Hiram Smith admitted there was a revelation read. Hiram Smith said it was about plural marriage. Joseph Smith said that it was about eternal sealings. One said half a truth, the other one said half a truth. You combine those two half truths, and you got the whole truth. Yeah. But if it was so controversial, if that was the whole point of that Nauvoo Expositor, why not put the thing to bed and produce the revelation and say, well, here it is. Let me read it to you. They didn't do that. They just simply admitted that there was a revelation. But it really wasn't really talking about current day. It was talking about former days. And Joseph Smith, they make a big deal about that a guy could be sealed to his deceased wife. Well, okay, we know now that it was talking about sealing and it was talking about plural marriage. So we could talk about all the people that left affidavits and records regarding the High Council meeting of August 12th, 1843. Every one of them that said anything about it said there was a revelation written on plural marriage. We have William Clayton's journal, which I know everyone loves to hate on. Everyone loves to say they were forged. Somehow he was able to forge the Kinderhook plate, the exact replica of a Kinderhook plate, and put in the margins of who was sealed to who. And so there's this theory going out there that he took one of the printer's plates and traced it from the printer's plate. Well, guess what? Printer's plates were square. They weren't they weren't shaped like the thing that they were trying to illustrate. They had to be square to be able to fit into the whatever machinery they used to print. Anyways, I can basically go over these one by one, but going back to the Sharps, I feel bad for them. I hope that they stay faithful. I hope they come to closure. And even if they don't, I don't think I'll ever come to a closure about plural marriage. I'm not going to go yay plural marriage anytime in my life. But I do believe the Book of Mormon is true. I've had a witness of it. I know that Joseph Smith was a prophet. I know that by my adherence to the gospel of Jesus Christ and to my covenants has brought me great joy, and I will be a faithful member the rest of my life. I hope that we can have honest, open discussions. I enjoy the back and forth about people's beliefs. I hope I'll try not to be disrespectful. I'll try not to be too snarky. If you will try that as well. I tend to sometimes snap when people get snarky or they become dismissive. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Again, I hope that they can make it back. They weren't excommunicated. The point of this video is they weren't excommunicated because of the beliefs. They were excommunicated for teaching other things. They can talk about Joseph Smith teaching that we believe that in obeying or the article of faith about believing whatever you will believe. Well, that's a different faith. We believe that everyone should have the right to believe how they will. But it doesn't mean that everyone within one church can believe the exact same, or can all believe different things. That's ridiculous. He's talking about civil rights, and the same goes for defending the beliefs of others. He wasn't saying that you could have you could hold and teach whatever you want within the same church. That's not a thing. We have our beliefs are basically come from top down. They're from Revelation. They're from our prophets. And yes, we can hold different beliefs, but when we go out and teach something different, we are in opposition to the church we belong to. And that's all I have to say about that. My name is Jerry Phillips, and this is Facing Facts with Faith.